Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Wellness Wednesday with the Wichita Symphony. Today, we're joined by Susan Mayo and her two kids, these new goats. We're going to be talking about soundscapes, animal sounds, nature sounds, and how those can be incorporated into our own wellness.
Okay.
So, they look adorable. So, did they? You shared some Bach, where you played a Bach cello, a movement from a cello suite, and they seem to enjoy it and just dig it and just kind of hang around. And
Yeah, well, the first time I played for them, they were like super curious. They came up and they kind of nibbled on my cello. And then that was not a great take for me as a player. And so then they got a little less enamored with the cello. But yeah, they like it. And when I first brought them in, I had to take them from their mom because she just wasn't given enough milk. And I brought them in and they were just bleeding their little heads off in the mudroom. And so I put some music on and they calm down right away. So they do respond. I think primarily what I'm really interested in is just to encourage people to listen passionately to what they have. And as musicians, we're trained to do that with our music, but not always with our soundscapes. And I think it's an interesting way for people to just focus on their world and be sort of in the present, when you're really listening to what you're hearing and being aware of it. But it made me start thinking more about soundscapes and how they affect our health. And I started doing, that's old stuff, people have been doing this forever. The National Park Service actually has a division called Nights and Sounds, I think it is, and they protect the soundscapes of their parks. And that doesn't necessarily mean just the natural soundscapes, but also in terms of heritage, what kind of soundscapes historically, if it's a historical park, what those might be. So I think there's more awareness about the importance of soundscapes. A lot of urban planning is now taking that into account, just like they have green spaces for people to be in urban settings. They're trying to make sure that those green settings or other places have a soundscape that maybe escapes some of the mechanical noise that we hear all the time.
your project of really deep listening to the sounds of animals in your cello video, um, those kind of it's artistically done, like the bells on your goats from the video that you sent. The bells are kind of looped and manipulated a little, and then there are some bird sounds. Can you talk a little bit about those? And
Yeah, it's actually not looping, but it's taking
oh,
the sounds and then pitching them and manipulating them digitally on Ableton. So when you start out, you hear generally there's three sections. There's morning that has goats and goat bells and geese in it. And you'll hear those, just the raw recordings first. And then, like, the bleats from the goats will be manipulated and reverb and all kinds of things. And sometimes it's even hard to tell what the sound is. And the bells, I pitched them all into a scale and then just use them sort of like an organ to play behind the cello, working with that. And then I add in geese and, as um, just interesting textures along with that.
The ear.
You guys, you guys. Um, and the second movement is crows and meadowlarks. And again, the crows they're really fun because they're such a raucous sound, and it's sort of more of a raucous thing. And it's interesting when I went out and I played the piece. I played along with the recording for the goats because it was just I have a track that I can play along with live, so the soundscape is going, but it's too much to try and do outside with recording and everything. But when I got to that part and the really kind of funky part, they all took off. They just ran off. So they do respond to that. But that again, the crow sounds are manipulated, and they're pitched a little bit, but they don't really pitch very well. And the meadowlarks are the second part of that, and then the third part, and that's midday. Third part is evening. We've got crickets and frogs. You'll hear that again. Just at the beginning of each portion, you hear the raw sound, just how it is before it's manipulated. And then there's owls. Stop that. Owls. Owls and coyotes. And the owls are the ones that are pitched in there that make a harmonic. It sounds almost like an organ, and they're pitched, and then they kind of go through, and then the coyotes come in and out. And it was an interesting challenge for me to figure out, I think, and it's one of the things I also think about a lot is how our acoustic world and our technological world combine. And, during the pandemic, we've all had to do so much stuff online and so much recording. And to me, that's, it's a foreign language and a challenge to work with that and to work with sound. And then to try and put a cello with a soundscape so that the two of them mix together was an interesting project. Stop eating your brother's ear. It is no good.
So you composed this piece.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. It's almost, I think, going to be a really interesting project for people to listen to, but then to take stock of their own sound environments and listen deeply like you did, and see, can you hear a frog, can you hear a plane, and all of the other things. Because when you actually end up back in the concert hall, when we get back on stage, there's a lot going on, and it's not just, the audience rustle. There's so many layers of sound happening right on stage. And I think a practiced ear will be able to appreciate that. So using your own soundscapes, whether you're in a city or the country or the suburbs or wherever, I think it's a good skill to develop.
Yeah, I think passionate listening is definitely a skill, and the more that you do it, the more that you appreciate it. It's like any art form. The more that you bring into an experience, the more that you'll get out of it. And listening is a skill.